Welcome back to CompSci.
Again.
And in this video, we're going to talk about topic 1.2.8, which is describing the purpose of prototypes to demonstrate the proposed system to the client.
Now, we're going to kind of relate this more to your IA than the stuff that you're going to see here. Because, I mean, you could read through the stuff here. It's not that difficult. But for your IA, a prototype is probably a good idea. Because as you're working on your product, you're going to notice, well, or you're going to go back to your client and they're going to notice, well, that's not really how I wanted it. So your first iteration, let's call it, would be basically your prototype. And you can go to that client with the prototype and say, hey, what do you think of this? It's not my final copy, but this is what I have so far.
So you are expected to be meeting with your client on a semi-regular basis as you go through this whole process, remembering that the final thing is due by the end of February. So you need to be meeting with them so you can say, okay, this is where we're at. What are your thoughts? Is this what you wanted? What do we need to fix? Where do we go from here? And that's all written out in your record of tasks.
And yeah, that's what I was going to say. Every meeting that you have with your client should be recorded in your record of tasks. I know your record of tasks is actually due in a couple of days, but as you go on and meet with your client more, you should be going back and editing your record of tasks after you've handed in your record of tasks.
We just want to see that you've started it for everything you've done so far. That is a working document throughout the entire process of your IA.
Awesome. So anyway, I think this picture is hysterical. Please look through it on your own. It basically describes why prototypes would be needed and how every person, different person in the whole development of the system views things and does things. But that's for you to have fun with and laugh at yourself. Alright, so prototypes, basically prototype, you should know what a prototype is. It's a working version but not final version of your product.
So they're important so that each component is tested along the way. This helps to alleviate some things. If you wait till the end to show your client, oh, here's my finished product, what do you think? And there's something that kind of went through the whole project that they weren't expecting and that wasn't exactly what they envisioned, you're going to have to go back and redo a lot of work. And when you're working with a real client, they're going to expect you to go back and do all of that work probably for free. So you want to make sure that you're going through that and doing that along the way so you can find any issues, find any things that they didn't expect or that they want changed early on so you don't carry that throughout your entire project.
Awesome. An example, read it yourself. We want to talk about this for a couple seconds because I felt like question A, it says a robot company develops various robotic systems. In most cases, a test prototype is produced. Suggest where a prototype would be beneficial, but also where a prototype would not be beneficial. It's easy to come up with an idea of why a prototype would be beneficial. I mean, thinking about your IA, you're going to want to have a couple prototypes. You're not necessarily designing a robotic system or a robot, but you're going to want some kind of working copy of that program that you're making for your client to give that client and say, hey, what do you think? What should we fix? So it's easy to come up with a situation where a prototype is justified. But what about when it's not justified? Why would you not want to make a prototype?
Especially of a robotic system. That we have to kind of keep in the back of our heads for this question.
Without giving you the answer, one suggestion we could probably make would be time.
Some robots can take a really long time to make. I know a lot of you on the robotics team, you know that it takes you a long time to build that one robot. So if you have to build a prototype of it, and that's not going to be your final one, and then you have to build a whole nother one that is your final version, it's eating up a lot of time, and time costs money.
That's another suggestion, money. What if the prototype is too expensive?
So you're going to need to come up with a little bit more of a specific situation where that development won't help and why. So we gave you 2 starting points as to the why. You just have to come up with the situations. And then try and think of alternative testing methods. There are other ways that you can start testing things that aren't a prototype. And they might be useful for you in your IAs as well. So keep that in mind and try and come up with an alternative testing method for this robot company.
So this was a short video because it was kind of a short topic, but we wanted to talk about this particular question because we thought you would have some problems with it.
So any questions, ask. Make sure that you're working through them. This is question 7, so if you're at this point, you only have 3 questions to go.
Good job.
Keep working through. Make sure you're handing them in as you go along so you can get feedback. If you've gotten to this point and you have not handed us in any questions yet, you should probably give them in to us so we can give you feedback and give you some good information about them.
You're running out of time.
If you have any questions, just ask. Otherwise, test on Tuesday the 12th.